Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to just picture something for a second. It's a ritual that happens in millions of kitchens, probably every single morning.
Oh yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
You wake up, you're a bit groggy, you walk over to the counter, and you grab a bottle. Maybe it's a multivitamin, maybe fish oil, maybe some, herbal blend you saw on social media.
Right?
You pop the capsule, you swallow it, and you don't even think twice.
It's the definition of blind faith, isn't it?
It really is. You don't pause and think, wait, is this actually ashwagandha root? Or is there arsenic in this? Or is this just compressed rice flour? You trust the label implicitly. But the question that honestly keeps me up at night is why? What's happening in the background to actually justify that trust?
It's a massive question, and you're right to ask it. Because we live in this era of clean label everything.
Yeah.
We want to know if our food is organic, non-GMO.
Everything.
But with supplements, there's this huge hidden industrial machine, this whole scientific infrastructure that exists just to prove that what's in the pill matches what's on the bottle.
And that is exactly where we're going. We are peeling back the curtain on the lab. We're diving into a really comprehensive guide called Supplement Laboratory, a comprehensive guide to third-party testing, safety, and quality assurance. It's by Ingredientsage, authored by Laurent Fabian.
And the big takeaway isn't just about chemistry or beakers.
No, it's about a shift in mindset.
It's a total shift.
Right. Fabian argues that for so long, companies saw lab testing as just this backroom cost, a burden, like paying taxes or fixing the printer.
Something you just had to do.
But the smart companies, the ones leading the field, they see it as a strategic investment in trust.
That is the key. That's the whole game now. If you're a brand today, you aren't just selling a vitamin C pill. You're selling the assurance that it's safe and that it's pure.
Because in the age of social media, one recall, one scandal.
And you're done. The brand just evaporates.
So let's walk through this machinery. We've got a lot to cover.
Mm.
We're going to look at the strict government rules, the stick, if you will.
Right, the stick.
Then we'll look at the voluntary gold standards, the carrot. And then my favorite part, the sort of CSI-style science they use to catch fakes.
And we can't forget the future. We'll definitely touch on how AI is changing the quality control game.
True. But let's start with the rules of the game. The source makes it clear. Before you even think about marketing, you have to worry about the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
And in the U.S., it all seems to hinge on one specific regulation, 21 CFR Part 111.
It really rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
It sounds like a droid from Star Wars. C-3PO, meet 21 CFR Part 111. But I'm guessing it's a little more serious than that. What is this thing?
It's essentially the Bible for supplement manufacturing in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
It stands for the Federal Standard for Current Good Manufacturing Practices, or CGMP.
Okay, CGMP. I've seen that one.
And I want to emphasize that word, current. It means you have to use today's standards, today's technology, not what was okay 20 years ago.
So it's not just a static list of don't put poison in the bottle.
Oh, far from it.
Yeah.
It controls everything, the air quality in the room, the training for the staff, the calibration of the scales, everything. But the source highlights one area as the absolute gatekeeper of safety.
And that is?
Batch release controls.
Batch release controls. Sounds official. Break that down for me. What does that actually mean on a Tuesday at the factory?
Okay, so imagine you've just made, say, 10,000 bottles of magnesium glycinate. They're all boxed up on pallets, ready to go to the store.
Right, money waiting to be made.
21 CFR Part 111 says, stop. You can't ship a single bottle until you have hard analytical data proving that that specific batch meets every single specification.
So you can't just test the first batch of the year, get a gold star, and then assume the rest are good to go.
Absolutely not. Every single batch is its own unique thing. And here's where the pressure comes in. Let's say a test comes back a little weird. Maybe the potency is 5% too low. The temptation, historically, might have been to say, it's close enough. But under these rules, that's called a deviation.
And you can't just sweep a deviation under the rug.
If you do, and the FDA finds out you're looking at huge penalties, product seizure, they can shut you down.
Yeah.
You have to investigate every single one. It forces a culture of precision.
So the paperwork is almost as important as the pill itself.
In the eyes of a regulator.
Yeah.
Maybe more so. The source talks about chain of custody. It's a legal term, right? From crime shows.
Right, for evidence.
Here it applies to ingredients. You need to be able to tell the entire story of that ingredient, from the farm to the factory to the bottle.
A biography of the raw material.
Exactly. And if there are gaps in that story, if you can't prove where it came from, who handled it, the product is considered adulterated by default.
Guilty until proven innocent. I actually find that really reassuring as a consumer.
It is. It prevents mystery powders from just showing up in the supply chain.
Okay, so that's the government baseline, the stuff you have to do. But then there's what the source calls the alphabet soup of voluntary trust.
Yes.
I see all these little seals on bottles, GMP, ISO, USP, NSF, and to be honest, they all kind of look like good job stickers to me.
Right. They blend together into this vague sense of quality, but they mean very different things, and, understanding the difference is a real superpower.
Okay, so decode them for us. Let's start with GMP compliance for a lab. What does that actually tell me?
It tells you they have a functioning quality system. It means they're not just winging it. They have written procedures for everything.
Like everything.
If they change a light bulb, they probably document it. If a machine is calibrated, it's logged. It's about organization and traceability.
Okay, so GMP is about being organized and following the rules. What about ISO? The source mentions IOIEC 17025. That's a mouthful.
It is. But this one is the heavy hitter for technical competence. Think of it this way. GMP says, I have a recipe book, and I follow it every time.
Okay.
ISO 17035 says, I'm a world-class chef who understands the molecular chemistry of the food.
Oh, I like that. One is process, the other is skill.
Precisely. ISO accreditation validates that the lab knows how to run the test correctly. It focuses on something called measurement uncertainty.
Measurement uncertainty. That sounds like they don't know the answer. We're uncertain.
Hey, in science, it's actually the opposite. Admitting your uncertainty is the highest form of accuracy. No measurement is perfect, right? There's always a tiny margin of error, maybe plus or minus 0.1%. An ISO-accredited lab knows exactly what that margin is. If a lab gives you a number without that, they're kind of guessing.
I see. So knowing what you don't know is the mark of a pro. And the source mentioned something about interlaboratory comparisons.
Yes. It's like checking your homework against the smartest kids in class. You send the same sample to 3 different accredited labs. If you all get the same answer, you know you're good. If you're the outlier,
You've got a problem.
you've got a problem to fix.
So GMP is the system, ISO is the skill. What about USP and NSF? I feel like those are the ones I actually recognize on a bottle.
And you recognize them because they're consumer-facing. These are the gold standards. USP is the United States Pharmacopoeia. NSF is another independent organization. When you see their seal, it means the product has been verified against a monograph.
A monograph? What is like a vitamins biography?
Close. It's like an identity card and a rule book all in one. A monograph for, say, Panax ginseng will spell it all out. To be called ginseng, you must contain these specific compounds in these ratios, and you can't have more than this much lead.
Wow.
And USP and NSF verified that the product hits those marks. Exactly.
So they checked the actual pill against the master definition of what that pill should be.
Precisely. It's the ultimate seal of approval.
All right, let's get to the fun stuff. The CSI episode. The source describes some techniques that sound incredibly high-tech. How do they actually catch the bad ingredients?
The stakes here are so high. The first line of defense is what they call identity testing. It's all about preventing adulteration.
Adulteration. Which is a nice word for fraud.
Often, yes. Or just plain incompetence. It's a huge problem with botanicals herbs. You grind up a root, it's a tan powder, it looks like ginger, it smells mostly like ginger. But
or is it sawdust with some ginger scent sprayed on it?
Exactly. That's a terrifyingly easy thing to fake.
So how do you catch it?
The source highlights DNA barcoding.
So you're literally paternity testing the plants.
That is exactly what it is. They extract the DNA from the cells in that powder, sequence specific parts of the genome, and then they compare it to a massive reference library.
And it gives you a definitive answer.
This is Panax ginseng, or no, this is actually a common weed called pokeweed.
That is wild. You can't fool the genetics.
Very hard to. But there's a catch. DNA tells you what the plant is. It doesn't tell you if the plant is any good. You could have genuine ginseng that's been sitting in a damp warehouse for 5 years and has 0 potency left.
Right. It's the right guy, but he's asleep on the job, so you need potency verification.
Exactly. Now, we move from biology to chemistry. We have to verify the label claims. If the bottle says 500 milligrams of curcumin, we have to prove it.
But how do you weigh just the curcumin out of a capsule that's full of fillers and other stuff?
We use chromatography.
Yeah.
Specifically, LC Methods liquid chromatography.
Okay. Explain that like I'm 5.
Hey. Okay. Imagine you have a green smoothie, and you want to know how much spinach is in it versus apple. Chromatography is like a racetrack. You push the smoothie through this special column.
Okay.
The spinach molecules run at a different speed than the apple molecules because of how they interact with the material in the tube. So they separate.
Separate out.
They do. They cross the finish line at different times. A detector counts them as they pass, and you get a peak on a graph. The size of that peak tells you exactly how much is there.
And that gives you consistency from batch to batch.
That's the key. Consistency.
Okay, so we know what it is. We know how strong it is. Now the scary part, the stuff that shouldn't be there.
The safety squad. Contaminants testing. This is non-negotiable. We're talking heavy metals, lead, arsenic, mercury, cadmium.
The four horsemen of the supplement apocalypse?
Unfortunately, yeah. Plants absorb them from the soil, so even an all-natural product can be high in lead if the soil was bad. We also test for pesticides and mycotoxins. Nasty, toxic stuff from mold, if the herbs were stored somewhere damp.
And the source mentions some serious heavy machinery for this. LC-MS-MS and GC-MS sounds like spaceship models.
They're the Ferraris of the lab. LC-MS-MS is liquid chromatography with mass spectrometry.
Mass spectrometry, that's weighing molecules, right?
Yeah, but with incredible sensitivity. It breaks molecules into fragments and weighs them. We're talking about finding a single drop of a substance in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Wow.
That's the level you need to find pesticide residues.
And the other one, GC-MS.
Gas chromatography. That's for volatile constituents, things that evaporate easily.
Like what?
Residual solvents. To extract an herbal concentrate, manufacturers often use things like hexane or ethanol. You want those to be completely gone from the final product.
Right.
GC-MS sniffs out the tiny traces left behind to make sure you aren't drinking industrial solvent.
I am very glad someone is checking for that. There was one more tool mentioned that sounded wild. Isotopic analysis.
Well, this is fascinating. This is about geography. Every region of the world has a unique isotopic signature in its soil and water. The ratio of carbon and nitrogen isotopes. It's like a fingerprint.
And the plant absorbs that signature.
It does. So if a supplier sells you premium Swiss alpine herbs, but you run an isotopic analysis, and the signature matches soil from, say, an industrial region in another continent. Busted. It traces the origin of the ingredient. It validates the supply chain in a way no paper document ever could.
That is just incredible. It's chemistry as a lie detector.
It really is.
Now, all this testing creates a mountain of data, and the source brings up a concept called data integrity. There's this acronym that looks important. LCOA plus A.
Sounds like an aluminum company, doesn't it? But LCOA plus is the global framework for truth in data. It stands for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate.
And the plus?
The plus adds complete, consistent, enduring, and protected.
That is a lot of adjectives. Why do you need a special acronym just to say don't lie about the data?
Because historically people did, or they were just sloppy.
Yeah.
Lost audit trails was a very convenient excuse for a bad result.
Oh, sorry, the dog ate my lab results.
Pretty much. LCOA plus ensures every single data point is traceable. Take contemporaneous. That's a big one. It means the data was recorded at the time the work was done.
So you can't scribble it on a napkin and then type it into the computer 3 days later?
No, that's a violation.
Eh?
Because memory is faulty and it opens the door for fraud. If you record it later, you might be tempted to smooth out the numbers.
And this all ties into that other rule, 21 CFR Part 11.
Yes, the one for electronic records. Modern labs are all software-driven. This rule requires electronic signatures and uneditable audit trails.
A digital fingerprint.
Exactly. If you change a result in the system, say you correct a typo, the system doesn't delete the old one. It saves the old one, saves the new one, timestamps it, and makes you type in why you changed it.
So it's tamper evident.
Totally. It makes the data enduring. If the FDA walks in for an audit 5 years from now, that digital paper trail has to be perfect.
It really sounds like the lab business is as much about IT and data security as it is about pipettes and beakers.
Oh, absolutely. The source says it explicitly. Strong governance supports reproducibility. If you can't prove how you got the answer is worthless.
So let's pivot to the business side. If I'm a brand owner listening to this, I'm probably sweating right now. This sounds expensive.
It is expensive. There's no way around it.
And the source says you can't just Google cheap lab testing and pick the top result.
That's the fastest way to kill your brand. The source suggests a really rigorous process using RFPS requests for proposals and SLAs, service level agreements.
Sounds very corporate.
It has to be. You need an SLA that defines turnaround times, for example. But more importantly, you need to do your due diligence.
Meaning you should actually go visit the lab.
Yes. Walk through the door. Ask to see their calibration logs. Ask about the maintenance schedule for that fancy mass spec we talked about. Look for dust. If they hesitate, if they say that's confidential when you ask for basic quality records,
Run.
you run.
But playing devil's advocate, if I'm a small startup, I might be tempted to cut corners. Maybe we just test for potency and skip the heavy metals test this one time.
And that's the cost versus investment debate.
Mm.
The source counters this with what it calls the break-even assessment. You have to calculate the cost of quality against the cost of a recall.
Paint that picture for us. What does a recall actually look like?
It's ruinous. First, you have to pay to ship all the product back from retailers, then refund everyone, then pay to destroy the product. But that's just the money. The real cost is the lawsuits and the complete destruction of your brand's reputation.
Once people think your brand has lid in it, you don't come back from that.
You don't. The source argues high upfront testing costs are basically an insurance policy. It reduces risk, and it actually speeds up your time to market because you get it right the first time.
So the ROI isn't just about money made, it's about disaster avoided.
Precisely. It's the price of staying in business.
Okay, let's look into the crystal ball. The source talks about the future outlook. Where is all this going?
It's getting more digital, faster, and way more transparent. First up, AI and machine learning.
How does AI help with a chemical test?
Anomaly detection. A human analyst looks at hundreds of these chromatograms, the graphs with the peaks, every day. They might miss a tiny little blip that suggests a new contaminant. AI doesn't get tired.
So it can spot weird patterns humans might miss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the huge shift toward open data. Historically, the lab report, the certificate of analysis, was just a PDF email to the brand. Nobody else ever saw it.
And now?
Now we're seeing QR codes directly on the bottles. You scan it with your phone, and it pulls up the actual lab data for that specific batch.
That's radical transparency.
It gets better. The source mentions blockchain.
Blockchain for vitamins. I thought that was for crypto.
It makes perfect sense for supply chains. If the lab uploads the result to a blockchain, it's immutable. It cannot be changed. Not by the brand, not by anyone. It creates a permanent, unhackable record.
So a brand can't just Photoshop the results.
Not a chance. When a consumer scans that code, they are seeing the raw, unedited truth straight from the lab.
And finally, the source mentions global harmonization.
This is kind of a boring term for a great thing. It just means rules are aligning across borders. So if you test your product in the US, those results will be accepted in Europe or Asia.
Less red tape, same safety. A win-win.
Exactly. It supports growth and ensures a baseline of safety everywhere.
We have covered a massive amount of ground, from the strict FDA rules to DNA barcoding plants and all the way to a blockchain future.
It is a lot to take in. But if I had to summarize it, I'd go back to that first idea. A supplement lab isn't just a service provider. It's a partner in risk management.
It protects the brand, but more importantly, it protects us, the people actually swallowing the pills.
That's it. It's the shield between you and the chaos of the global supply chain.
And that's the takeaway for you, the listener. The next time you see that tiny GMP or NSF seal on a bottle, don't just gloss over it. Realize there is a massive amount of science and data integrity behind that little logo. It's not just a sticker, it's a promise.
Well said.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one provocative thought based on this trend towards open data. The source mentioned that this kind of transparency is becoming table stakes.
Just the basic expectation.
So here's the question. As these tools, the QR codes, the blockchain, the accessible lab reports, as they become standard, are we moving toward a world where the consumer is expected to be their own auditor?
That's a fascinating thought.
Will we reach a point where if you buy a bottle without scanning the lab result first, you're the one being negligent? Are we shifting the burden of quality control from the regulator to the shopper?
It puts a lot of power in the hands of the buyer, but also a lot of homework.
Something to mull over next time you're standing in that supplement aisle staring at 100 different bottles. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you.
See you next time.